All right, so finally, after like 2 or 3 months, I forget how long it was, I can now make the Smurfs video that I've been planning on making. Is like 3 months ago, I wrote like a really long script on the new Smurfs movie, Smurfs 2025, also known as Rihanna Smurfette, the Smurfs 2025, which is a very disappointing reboot of the Smurfs franchise, unfortunately. Uh, I saw the movie in like September. I was initially planning on seeing it in theaters, like when it came out during the summer, but I ended up just kind of waving it off and not seeing it because I waited quite a while for this movie and I was pretty hyped for it, but then I just kind of didn't see it. Uh, so I eventually just pirated it in September, and I'm so happy I did because this movie, when I tell you it was not worth spending any money on it. So, like, if I spent money on this movie and I went to a theater and watched it, I would have walked out so mad because it's such a bad movie. But yeah, I've been kind of procrastinating a bunch on making this video. I actually did record the summary part like a while back, but it was kind of ass and dog shit, and it was shot in a style that required quite a lot of editing, and I realized editing just really isn't for me. I don't really like videos with a lot of editing. I much prefer videos that are kind of just a person talking, almost like a conversation. So that's how I decided I'm going to film this. Give me a second here. I gotta find the script. It's kind of a while back because, like I said, it's been a while since I was on this. Oh, there, found it. So, the initial script was like 17,000 words. I didn't check. Maybe I'll clarify at the end of the video when I check again. But all you gotta know is it's really fucking long. And the way it's formatted basically is there's a part where I explain my history with the Smurfs to you first. That's gonna be the first part we're gonna go on. Then I'm gonna do a quick, it might be quick, might be not, depending on how much I sidetrack summary of the movie. Again, it's probably not going to be a pure summary, and I'm probably going to get sidetracked a bunch, but I am going to try. And then after that, we'll go more into detail about like specific things I didn't like. And also, I have a giant mug of tea here that one of my friends made it for me. I've been drinking a lot of tea here, and I also have peanut butter sandwiches because this video might take a while to record and I didn't want to go hungry. So at some point in the video, I might be talking with a mouthful of PBs in my mouth. Yeah, so be prepared for that. But I'm pretty excited to finally record this. I also finally did something with my mic that makes it not sound like shit because normally it usually does. Like even in the first variant I recorded, it sounded like shit throughout the entire thing. So it's good that I get to redo it. I'm also going to be taking sips of the tea occasionally, because also, if you didn't peep the shirt where my friends got it for me. It's tough as hell. Lately, I've been. Never mind, that was a sidetrack. I would have gone on about something that's irrelevant there. But yeah, uh, so I have the script on my phone. Obviously, it's a really long script, so it's not memorized. I should have taken a smaller bite because now I have to chew a bit. And there are going to be no cuts in this video likely because I just do not want to deal with editing. So because it's going to be long sections of me just chewing. Pretty much, I'm just going to be talking about the different points of the movie, and I'm going to be occasionally looking down at my phone because they're all on my phone. So forgive me if I'm not really paying much attention to the camera, but yeah. So let's begin. First, I have to kind of explain my history with the Smurfs. So I've been a fan of the Smurfs for a while. I saw the first two live action movies, the ones where they get isekai'd. And as a kid, I thought they were just kind of whatever movies. I like they were okay, they were fun enjoyment, but I didn't really care for them. It wasn't until 2017 when Smurfs: The Lost Village came out that I finally watched that, and I loved that movie. I think I've seen it like 10 or 13 times. I've seen that movie so much because as soon as I got home after seeing it in 2017, I went to my mom's laptop and I downloaded it on there from fucking FZ Movies. And then I would just rewatch it. I've rewatched that movie so many times. I love it. I think it's the best Smurf movie. I think it's practically the only true Smurf movie, honestly. But yeah, so just so you understand, I really, really love the Smurfs. And I've been waiting for a new Smurfs movie for almost a decade now at this point. Last one came out 2017. And I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And so when the announcement came out that, oh, new Smurfs movie coming out, I was pretty hyped. Again, like I said, I was going to see it in theaters even, but then I just didn't bother. Uh, so yeah, I was really hyped to see this movie. And I know a lot of people initially kind of wrote it off as, ah, they're just doing a quick cash grab by trying to reboot another dead IP. And to be fair, that's what it was. But me as a Smurfs fan, as someone who's actually anticipating the movie, because I think most of the discourse around this movie was from people who don't really care for the Smurfs. So it's kind of different for me. And I think that's why this video is kind of valuable because it's presenting uh, the movie from the point of view of somebody who actually really wanted it to be good. I think a lot of these content creators who made reviews were kind of hoping the movie would be bad, so they'd have a roast video to make, which is fair, and that's not to say that their opinions and points and critiques of the movie aren't valid. I just thought it would be interesting to get critiques from the point of view of somebody who actually did care about this movie. Uh, so I will admit, going into this, I was a bit salty, like going into the movie. I was kind of salty because at first I was excited, and then it was revealed that it was a reboot. I thought it was going to be a sequel to The Lost Village, but it wasn't. It was a reboot, and I was kind of upset about that. So going into the movie, I was a bit salty, and also, again, I'm gonna talk about the Lost Village a lot in this movie. It's gonna be like my point of comparison when I want to point to, hey, this does something a lot better. That's what I'm gonna use a lot. Like I'm gonna be comparing and contrasting the Lost Village and this new movie, Smurfs 2025, better known as Rihanna Smurfette, the Smurfs 2025. So going into it, again, was salty, but I tried pushing away my bias so I could just go in there and watch the movie for what it was, and I did try that, and the movie was still shit. It was still bad. It wasn't very good. But anyway, that's all for that. If you don't want spoilers, you can go ahead and watch the movie yourself. But right now, we're going to go into the summary section where I'm going to start talking about like what actually happens in the movie, and I'm just going to go like not scene for scene. I'm not going to talk about every single scene and like a lot of detail. Some scenes I'm even going to skip over, but I'm going to like give you a general sense of how the movie flows from scene to scene. So, yeah, here's a summary. So, our movie begins with an exposition dump, like all great movies do, and it's a very clumsy one. Uh, it gives us lore, which is nice because the Smurfs universe doesn't have much lore, and that's a thing I've always disliked. I really would like them to just like explain things properly. Like there's a lot that happens in these movies that's not really explained. So I was kind of like, oh cool, lore. We're actually getting explanations for things. But the lore here is buns. It's just bad. Basically, there's four magic books, and when these four magic books are combined, it gives you immense power. And there's an alliance of evil wizards who wants to gather all the four books, put them together, and control the universe. Why do they want to do this? What do they gain from doing this? What does them in control of the universe look like? It's never explained. It's never really elaborated on. They're just evil. They're literally called the Alliance of Evil Wizards. They're just evil. They don't really have any motivation. Uh, yeah, and so basically, the Alliance of Evil Wizards wants to gather all the books. There's three Guardian Smurfs. Papa Smurf is one of them. Yeah, Papa Smurf, the old Smurf guy with the gray white beard and the red hat, the clan leader, that Papa Smurf, he's one of the three Guardian Smurfs, and basically their job is to defend the books and keep them away from the evil wizards. And so keep in mind this lore stuff is like a flashback from 100 years ago. Basically, the evil wizards get a hold of three books, but they manage to keep one book safe. That book's name is John T. Grimoire. You're going to forget that name, but don't worry. I'll remind you when it comes up again who that is. Trust me, you're gonna forget that name. You're not gonna remember that. Uh, so John T. Grimoire, because remember the books, the magic books, they can talk too. Because how are we gonna have more mascots that we can make plushes of and sell if everyone in this movie can't talk? Yeah, so the books can talk. John T. Grimoire is a character. The wizards get three of the books, but except John T. Grimoire, and Papa Smurf takes John T. Grimoire off. to Smart Village and hides her there from the evil wizards. Uh, and then we fast forward to present day. Our movie, like, actually starts. And it starts in Smurf Village, the Smurf Village we've all come to know and love. And it starts with a dance number because, of course. Also, I forgot to mention this movie was initially announced as a musical. It's not really a musical, but I'll get into that later. But yeah, this is like our first number. It's not really a number, but they're dancing and there's music, so musical? It's not really a musical. But yeah, they're dancing, doing all that stuff. We get introduced to a few different Smurfs, the Smurfs we like Clumsy, Hefty, Grouchy, Vanity, etc. And speaking of Vanity Smurf, I want to quickly diverge. This is one of the parts I'm going to diverge on and talk about something that I did think was interesting that this movie does. And that's the Smurfs in this movie aren't gendered, which sounds like a weird idea, and you're like, probably if you haven't seen the movie, you're probably like, what do you mean? I mean, like, in the past Smurfs movies, all the Smurfs in Smurf Village have been like portrayed as male. Like, even though they all just look the same and they're not really differentiated from one another, they've all been like portrayed as males. They all have male voices. Smurfette is specifically said to be the only female Smurf. But in this movie, some of the Smurfs in Smurf Village, like the regular ones, just have female voices. Like Vanity, for example. In The Lost Village, she and the other Smurfs movies, Vanity Smurf had a male voice and was portrayed as a male. But in this movie, Vanity Smurf still looks the exact same, still has the very basic mold of regular Smurfs, but sounds like a woman. And I thought that was interesting. And Vanity Smurf is not the only one. There are other Smurfs in this movie who have female voices despite still being in the same mold of regular Smurfs. And I thought that's nice. It's cool to do doing something new with the Smurfs. But yeah, it doesn't really add much to the movie or like take anything from it. It's not really like a major part, just something I noticed and I thought it was pretty neat and I just wanted to bring up. But anyways, we're introduced to a new Smurf character. This is a guy who's original to this movie. That's the James Corden Smurf, and his name is No Name Smurf. He's No Name Smurf because he has no thing. You know how Smurfs have names like Vanity, Hefty, Clumsy. He's No Name Smurf. He's just like a blank slate. He doesn't really have anything about him, which I guess the writers took as an excuse to give him no personality because he's just kind of has no personality. He's a very boring character, and I hate him. I fucking hate No Name Smurf. But again, let's not digress. Let's stay on track. Excuse me. So yeah, we get into it, and No Name is sad. He laments about how he doesn't have his thing, and he complains to Papa Smurf, and he's like, "Oh, Papa Smurf, I don't have a thing. When will I ever get my thing?" And then Papa Smurf is like, "Hey, we've been trying to find your thing for a while. Maybe you just won't find it." And No Name suggests, "Hey, maybe I'll be the Magic Smurf." Not very subtle foreshadowing, but okay. And Papa Smurf's like, "You can't be the Magic Smurf. No Smurf's ever done magic before." Which is probably just not correct, but whatever. Yeah, so James Corden Smurf is sad, and him and Smurfette have this sort of weird relationship. You know Smurfette, like the girl Smurf with blonde hair, the Aryan one? Yeah. Uh, her and No Name have this weird relationship throughout the whole movie that is I don't know what to call them. I don't know. They're weird. They're like oddly closer than anyone else in this movie, and they're also probably the only two actual characters in this movie. But yeah, Smurfette is like really nice to him because she kind of relates to him because No Name doesn't have a thing. Smurfette is also kind of outside of the mold of a regular Smurf, where she doesn't really have like purpose, like she doesn't have a name in the same way the other Smurfs have a name. And there, I have a problem with that. This is just the Lost Village again. That's what the Lost Village from 2017 is about. It's about Smurfette going, "Hey, I don't have a thing. I want to find my thing." That's what the movie's about. And they literally just redo it here again. Like they do it with No Name Smurf here again. He is just a rehash of Smurfette's plotline from The Lost Village, which I thought was very lazy, and it will become more apparent as time goes on. Uh, Yeah, so Smurfette comforts him and she goes like, "Oh, I know how you feel. Like I was created by the evil wizard Gargamel and sent to destroy Smurf Village, but you guys turned me good." And it's like very lazy exposition for like people who are not familiar with the Smurfs. In case the viewer doesn't know who Smurfette is, that's just they just give a quick explanation there. But it seems like Smurfette has kind of dealt with her issues in this movie. Like that seems to be the implication at the start that, oh, this is a post turmoil and inner conflict Smurfette. Like, oh, she's found herself and she's good and all. But then later on, it just comes back again. Like, I feel like because Rihanna Smurfette, again, Rihanna Smurfette in this movie, don't forget that. Because Rihanna Smurfette, it feels like they felt the need to give her a plot line in this movie. And they didn't bother writing a new one, so they just took one from an already made much better movie, which I just didn't like, but whatever. James Corden Smurf, a no-name Smurf, sorry if I call him that sometimes, a no-name Smurf, goes off into the woods alone and wanders, and we have our first real musical number where like it's a character actually singing, and he sings a song, and it's okay. It's not a very good song. I'd give it like a four to a 5 out of 10. It's not a very good song. It's just whatever. I can't even play it in my head right now. I don't even remember what it sounds like because it's been months since I watched this movie. But in my notes, it says it's a 5 out of 10. 10. So I'm going to trust myself. I never miss. I'm very wise. Uh, like the song is obviously well made. I'm not even gonna say it's a bad song. It's just very generic, not noteworthy, very safe, which can be said about this entire movie. The word safe is probably like what this movie could be described as. It's safe. It's very by the numbers. They don't really try much new as far as like plot and story and music. Uh yeah, so during the song, No Name is walking around the woods and we get introduced to the worst character in this movie. I already said I hate No Name Smurf and I dislike him, but this character that we get introduced to is the worst character in the movie. His name is Turtle. He's a turtle. He's a turtle that stands on two legs and he's the size of the Smurfs. He's a turtle. And that's it. He's a turtle. And he talks slowly like a stoner. You know the turtle from Finding Nemo. It's like they just ripped him from there and then just had him be the most boring character ever. He's not even a character. I'm so baffled. I don't know what like why is he in this movie? He shows up, he makes jokes, he goes he makes stupid jokes, nobody laughs, and then he's just there. It's never really explained why he's there. Like, what role does he have in Smurf Village? Because like No Name meets him like in the forest, not in Smurf Village, but later he's in Smurf Village for no reason. He's just there. But whatever. We'll talk more about Turtle once they get Isekai to Paris. Because remember they're going to France later on, but that's coming up pretty soon. No Name walks around. He's sad. He's singing, and then he looks up to the stars and he makes a wish. He wishes that he had a thing. And in the bushes, Jaunty Grimoire, remember Jaunty Grimoire? That's the magic book that Papa Smurf hid in Smurf Village. Jaunty Grimoire sees him making this wish, and she's like, "Aw, he's so sad. I should grant his wish." So Jaunty Grimoire grants his wish, and No Name has magic. He has magic, and it's not even like he has small magic, and as he goes on he's gonna like learn and like get stronger with his magic. He's just like insanely OP. Like he's like shooting this blue magic stuff, and then he goes back to Smurf Village and he's like, holy shit, Papa Smurf, I have a thing. I'm the magic Smurf. I just did 6 7. He goes, I'm the magic Smurf. He didn't do that, but he says I'm the magic Smurf. And then he points his hands up into the sky and like opens up a portal in the sky. And it like opens up a portal for like a quick second, and Papa Smurf tells him to close it, and he closes it. Nothing comes through the portal, but Papa Smurf is very visibly disturbed. And Papa Smurf's like, "Oh shit, you don't know what you just did." And another portal opens up, and it starts sucking in Papa Smurf. And then he's like, "Go find Ken." He tells him, "Go find Ken." It's very ominous. He says, "Find the random guy named Ken." And then he gets sucked into the portal, and the other Smurfs are like, "Oh my God, Papa Smurf's gone. What are we gonna do? We don't know what to do." And then they start panicking and shit. Uh, yeah. So the Smurfs like reasonably assume Gargamel is behind this. If you don't know the Smurfs, remember Gargamel is the evil wizard they usually fight against. He's their antagonist. And since they don't really have any other villains in their roster, they obviously immediately assume that Gargamel's behind this, the kidnapping of Papa Smurf. And so they tell No Name, hey, open up a portal to Gargamel's base. No Name is just God already at this point. He can literally just do whatever with his magic that he just developed. And so No Name opens up a portal to Gargamel's castle, and Gargamel falls through the portal. They trap Gargamel in the cage and they start interrogating him. Obviously, Gargamel is not responsible for this, and he doesn't know anything about it. But this is another really dumb point of this movie. So while they are interrogating Gargamel, Clumsy Smurf walks out with a CD record, and on it it says, "Spin this track from beginning to end. Through this portal, you will find Ken." You'll find Ken. Spin this track from beginning to end. Through this portal, you'll find Ken. Clumsy just walks out with this, by the way. There's it's never explained where he found this CD that very conveniently has the answer to their problem of find Ken. It's never explained. He just you know how abrupt that was? Me just saying that, oh, they have they have a CD that shows them where Ken is. He just walks out of nowhere with this. And they're like, oh cool, we found Ken. And this decision really baffles me. Like, this movie seems to move at such a quick pace. Like, the writers were afraid to, like, take time with anything. He's like, I was assuming, okay, there's going to be a bit of, like, mystery and problem solving where maybe the Smurfs go to Papa Smurf's cabin and they look around and they find secrets that he's been hiding from them because there's a whole theme of Papa Smurf hiding shit from them. But no, the answer literally falls into their hands because Clumsy is walking with it and he trips and then it falls in front of them. It literally just falls into their hands and they're like, oh, cool. And then they play the record and the record player sucks up a few Smurfs and they get isekai to France. Yep, now we are at the France part where 20 minutes in and Smurfs are in France. Ah, so now that we're in France and like the actual adventure is kicking off, we're introduced to our Team Smurf. For this video, the sake of this video, I'm gonna be referring to Team Smurf. Team Smurf, when I say Team Smurf, I'm talking about the main Smurfs in that movie. Like, because each Smurfs movie obviously has lots of Smurfs, but there's usually like a main group of Smurfs who are the ones who are actually embarking on the adventure. Typically the ones who get isekai, but in the Lost Village, it's just the four Smurfs who go on the journey. And the Lost Village has the best Team Smurf, by the way. That's not a debate. Team Smurf in the Lost Village is just the best Team Smurf. Uh, and I'll talk about that later when I go more into detail on each component of the movie. But let me give you a rundown of what our Team Smurf is like here. Remember, the perfect Team Smurf in the Lost Village had four characters. It was four characters, very solid dynamic. Let me list off the characters here. Our Team Smurf consists of Smurfette, No Name, Hefty, Worry, Brainy, Vanity, Grouchy, and Turtle. Turtle, you know the annoying ass turtle guy that I was talking about? He's here. He gets isekai to France with them for some reason. Like I said before, No Name, when he was first shown, No Name saw him in the woods. But when the record player sucked them into France, Turtle was there for some reason. He was just standing there in Smurf Village next to them for some reason. He's not involved in this conflict. He has no stakes in the situation. He's just there. Like, who is this guy? I still don't understand who Turtle is supposed to be. But anyways, yeah, that's our Team Smurf. There's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. There's eight characters. Eight characters. Now that's a lot. And how exactly, you might be asking, are they gonna juggle that many characters? How are they gonna work out relationships between each of them? How is their dynamics gonna work? And the answer is it's not. It's not. They're not even gonna bother with any of that. I said earlier that the only two characters in this movie were No Name and Smurfette, and I meant it. Everyone else in this Team Smurf is set dressing. They don't matter. They don't play any role in the plot. they have nothing here. Like literally, they don't even have relationships with one another. All they do is occasionally say lines and like make jokes. They don't actually, they're not characters. But yeah, uh, just remember that. And also, another important detail to remember, once they get to France, Smurfette recognizes France for some reason, and she speaks a tiny bit of French. And they're all like, oh, that's weird. Huh, I wonder what that means. I guess we'll find out when that subtle foreshadowing finally comes around back later in the third act of the movie. Uh, but yeah, remember that. Smurfette speaks French. Which might be why she's evil. But yeah, she speaks French, whatever. Also, Gargamel is now in the human realm too. He also got isekai'd, but he's now in Razimel's castle. And now we get to Razimel. Let me talk about Razimel. Razimel is an evil wizard who lives, he's a member of the Alliance of Evil Wizards, and he's Gargamel's brother. Razimel lives in the human world for some reason. It's never explained why he's there. He just lives there. But yeah, so Razimel and Gargamel are now together. They have their whole relationship thing going on, but I'm really not gonna talk about it much in this video. I just don't really care about the two of them. Their shit is kind of bare bones and it's stupid. I'm not gonna talk about them. Basically, all you need to know is that Razamel hates Gargamel, but Gargamel doesn't see that Razamel hates him. So they have this weird dynamic where Gargamel is always like, "Oh, we're gonna rule the world together," and Razamel's like, yeah, yeah, sure, whatever you want to think, buddy." They have that whole thing going on, and again, I'm not gonna talk about it really. But yeah, so Papa Smurf also was kidnapped by Razmel. He wasn't kidnapped by Gargamel. That's where they were wrong. So yeah, so Papa Smurf, Razmel, and Gargamel are all in Razmel's castle, and basically the Smurfs' mission now is to find Papa Smurf. But yeah, let's keep going. So Team Smurf are in the streets of France, and they get chased by some dogs, but they get saved by. Okay. They get saved by the International Neighborhood Smurf Watch, Paris Division. Basically, the Smurfs who live in the human realm, and they have like different divisions in different countries. And you might be thinking, oh, that's pretty cool. I wonder what the other divisions are like. Well, keep wondering, buddy, because they're literally never mentioned or even alluded to in this movie. Like they're never mentioned at all. And after this scene where the neighborhood watch guys come, the Paris division, and they save them, they never come back in the movie again. Not only do they never show up in the movie again, they're never mentioned. They're never even mentioned at all. They show up for this one scene and then they're gone. It's so stupid. And it's especially annoying because one of the characters is named. It's not even like they're faceless goons. One of the characters takes off her shit and she's like, "Oh, I'm Moxie." And I was thinking, okay, that's gonna be like a character who joins them on their adventure because she got introduced. She even had her own character card on the fucking promotion thing. Like when they were giving them all their posters. There was a character there, Moxie. Even Turtle had his. And I'm starting to think that they just gave them to everyone. But yeah, they just show up this one time and are like, "Oh yeah, we'll take you to Ken," because the Smurfs are like, "Oh, we're looking for Ken," and Moxie's like, "Oh yeah, I know Ken. We'll take you to him." Once again, Team Smurf doesn't actually have to do anything to find Ken. They literally just get led straight to him, which is annoying. Gives them no agency, but whatever. Moxie takes Team Smurf to their base of operation, which is it's like in a club but it's like in the disco ball of like a nightclub. And I guess that was cool. That was an all right idea. I didn't hate that. Uh, but yeah, they go and they finally meet Ken. Ken is just Papa Smurf, but with an orange beard. At least in terms of look, their personality are kind of different. Where Papa Smurf is like a kind old grandpa kind of guy, Ken is like a mean, rough, tough, solo, tough guy. That's kind of what he is. Uh, yeah. So the Smurfs are like, "Oh, you gotta help us save Papa Smurf." Also, Ken is Papa Smurf's brother. I forgot to mention he's Papa Smurf's brother. And the three Smurfs at the beginning of the movie who were supposed to be guardians of the magic books, he's one of them. They were brothers and they were both on the same team. So that just leaves one more mystery Smurf. But yeah, Papa Smurf, Ken, they're like, hey, you gotta help us find Papa Smurf. And Ken is like, no, Papa Smurf betrayed his duty or something. He betrayed his duty or something. I don't know. He doesn't explain how he betrayed his duty now, but it's clear they're trying to set up Papa Smurf and Ken as being at odds with each other. And I guess it's whatever. I fully expected there to be a musical number here because again, I remembered for a split second, oh, this movie's a musical. We've only had like one song so far, and I was like, oh, maybe Ken's gonna sing a song that's gonna tell them the story of how like him and Papa Smurf fell out, like the guardian duties, because he explains to them how the Smurfs were originally like guardians of like good and everything. And no song comes, no song ever arrives during this scene. And I felt that was really weird. I feel like in a more competent actual musical, there would have been a musical number here. It felt weird. It felt like I was being edged the entire scene. It felt like I was being edged the entire movie for like a musical number. There were so many scenes where it's like throw in a song and they don't throw in a song. Instead, they throw in lazy dialogue and exposition. But whatever. Anyways, Smurfette and Ken have some weak ass banter. It's really corny. It's like some MCU, modern MCU type of dialogue where they're just snarky remarks, snarky remark. It's really dumb. And Rihanna's lazy voice acting, it doesn't really add much to it. Kind of makes it even worse and unbearable. But yeah, Ken's like, okay, whatever. I hope you guys go rescue Papa Smurf. And they're like, hey, No Name, open us a portal to Rasmo's castle. Because remember, No Name is just God. And so No Name does just that. He opens up a portal. And the entire Team Smurf go into the portal, plus Ken. Thankfully, the writers of this movie made one good decision, and that's that Turtle doesn't go with them. Turtle doesn't go with them. Instead, he remains with the Paris Smurf division guys, which thank you. He would have been so annoying the rest of this movie. Like he would have been this movie might have been unwatchable if he went along with them for the actual journey. I would have been so upset watching that. But anyways, yeah. They go over to the portal. They go through the portal, and basically Rasmal's castle has these magic defenses that like deflect anyone who's trying to get in with magic. So No Name's portal gets deflected, and they end up in an interdimensional uh kind of midway, halfway point, and the halfway point is located in the Australian outback. So now they're in Australia. I really feel like these guys, like the writers of this movie, wanted to do like a Smurfs World Tour kind of thing, where the Smurfs go from like different location on Earth to different location, that kind of thing. Trolls did something like that. It wasn't Earth, but they were going to like different locations, and they just didn't want to actually commit to it because they were in France, now they're in Australia. Later they're gonna go to Germany, but whatever. They're in Australia. They're like in the Australian wilderness, and yeah, lots of wacky shenanigans happen, and we are now introduced to the snooter poots. Like in the Australian outback, we meet these new creatures, snooter poots, and they're okay. I don't know. The snooter poots they're like these little fuzzball things with arms. They kind of look like those coconut things from Moana. And I think for the most part, their designs are okay. I think these are one of like the good modern Smurf designs. I feel like these would have fit really well with like the old comics, like in Peyo's art style. I feel like their style and design really fits with like the Smurf design philosophy. But anyways, yeah. I don't mind this scene, like this segment with the Snooterpoots. So I think it's one of the more bearable parts of the movie, and it also managed to make me laugh. That was the only part of the movie that, again, this movie is not funny. The jokes are terrible. This was the only scene that had like one or two lines that actually made me laugh. There were a few good gags that got a chuckle out of me, and that's specifically with the character of Mama Poot. Mama Poot is the leader of the Snooter Poots, and her and Ken have a bit of history, romantic, blah 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 stuff. And their dialogue, they have some banter where Ken and Smurfette's banter in the last scene was really corny and like MCU-ish. Uh, this banter here seems to work nicely. It works okay because again, the characters actually have relationship with each other that is like implied, and like I can say, okay, yeah, they're exes, so they have something there. But like Ken and Smurfette don't really have anything there, so their banter is just kind of empty. It's just kind of, what am I watching? I'm just watching a bunch of characters throw insults at each other. But whatever. Again, I liked the scene. It was pretty cool. Their dynamic, Papa Smoot and Ken, their dynamic is never really explored after this scene. Like, it's implied that Ken kind of like uh broke Mama Poot's heart or something, and that's the last we ever really hear of it. Like, they don't really get to resolve that. It's annoying. Again, No Name and Smurfette are the only characters who actually get any meaningful screen time. Not that their screen time is good. It's just they get it. In a better movie, I think it would have focused a lot more on this dynamic between Ken and Mama Poop, but that's whatever. Yeah. So, Mama Poop agrees to teleport Team Smurf to Rasmo's castle. It didn't work earlier. I'm not sure why they expect it to work now. Maybe because Mama Poot's more powerful sorcerer. But then again, No Name seems to be able to just do whatever he wants, so I don't see how Mama Poot can go against that, but whatever. Unfortunately, No Name is being kind of a pussy. I don't know why. And he runs out into the Australian wilderness. Like he's like, oh, the pressure's getting to me. And then he runs away. Not sure where he's running to. You're in the Australian wilderness. He just kind of runs. And Smurfette's the only one who goes after him, and she catches up to him. And then we have our second actual musical number. It comes here because it involves No Name and Smurfette. Nobody else is allowed to have any chance in the spotlight at all in this movie besides those two. And Rihanna sings a stupid song to him. Again, it's not very good. I don't like this song either. Uh, yeah, this one I actually remember. I actually the first song I couldn't remember it or even play it in my head, but this one I actually remember, and it's not very good still. It's like 4 out of 10. Uh, Anyways, Smurfette and No Name are done jacking each other off in the Australian wilderness, so they head back and they discovered that the Snooter Poots hideout was attacked by Razmo. Of course, this all happens off screen. Literally, we don't see anything cool in this movie happen on screen. Everything just happens off screen. It's so annoying. So yeah, Razmo attacked the Snooter Poots and he took two Snooter Poots. At first, I was very confused. I was like, why? Because in the movie, the two Snooter Poots he takes don't really play any role. I was like, why would Razmel take two Snooter Poots with him? And now I understand the reason was just so Mama Poop would have a reason to help them out. Because if he didn't take a Snooter Poot, she wouldn't really care or have any reason to help them out. So it's a really lazy way of involving her in the story. Yeah, so Mama Poot's like, okay, I'll help you guys. And they get in her car. I'm not explaining that. They get in Mama Poot's car and then they head over to Germany, where Razumel's castle is located. It's in Munich, Germany, for some reason. Again, I think they wanted to do the world tour thing where they were going from place to place, but it's weird because they didn't just do that. And they only go to three locations, and they don't do much in those three locations. But yeah, now that all of Team Smurf, besides No Name and Smurfette, have been captured, they're taken to Radimal's castle and they're all put in the same cell as Papa Smurf. So now Papa and Ken are face to face. We finally get to see an interaction between the two of them. And strangely enough, they don't seem all that hostile towards each other. They just kind of like, oh, it's you. Yeah. And like it's like they don't even have any history. I was expecting like Ken to be like more upset and like more aggressive towards Papa Smurf because again, in the other scene he was like, "Oh, this guy betrayed me and abandoned his duty," but now that they're face to face, just kind of shrugs it off and it's not really highlighted all that much. Yeah, and Papa Smurf and Ken talk a bit and they bring up Ron. They mention the name Ron, and the other Smurfs are like, "Ooh, who's Ron?" Ron is very obviously the third Guardian Smurf who is in their group, but they're just foreshadowing him here. He's not. We don't get an explanation for who he is here, but just remember his name. His name is Ron. But yeah. So now we're in Rasmo's castle. Smurfette and No Name and Mama Poot arrive, and they manage to sneak in. And Yeah, they sneak in, hitching a ride on the driver of a food delivery bike. It's implied that they ordered the food to his house and then to Razumel's castle, and then they hitched a ride on the bike while it was going into the castle. I don't know how they ordered this food. I don't know if Mama Poot has a phone. Well, she has a car, so she might have a phone. It's not that far fetched. And this movie's fucking garbage anyway, so I don't really care. Yeah. Rasmo's castle has now been infiltrated, and it's time for the final showdown. Well, not really the final showdown. And this is a very shitty animated kids film, so of course they're gonna try and throw in like a plot twist. Plot twist. It's not really a plot twist or anything, but whatever. Basically, the reveal is that No Name doesn't actually have magic. This entire time, underneath his Smurf hat, Jaunty Grimoire has been there doing the magic. Remember Jaunty Grimoire? Jaunty Grimoire, the magic book, Jaunty Grimoire? Because I sure as hell didn't remember her, which is the only reason why this plot twist was even somewhat good for me, was because I'd completely forgotten who this character was at this point. And so when she popped out of his hat, I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Not because it was a clever, well crafted plot twist, but because I forgot this character was in this movie. It's a really not a very good moment, and it wasn't. At least it wasn't for me because I forgot she was in a movie. But yeah, No Name doesn't have magic. She's been the one casting the spells. It's kind of a Ratatouille thing. But yeah, uh, so No Name's kind of like, ah, I'm worthless. I wasn't actually doing magic. I have no value. I'm a bum. No Name kind of he's just a pussy. He just bitches about everything. Like literally, when he has to do anything, he's just whining. Yeah, so No Name's sad now. And what happens next is it was really annoying. Like I really did not like this. And I'm just gonna try and speed run through this because I have a lot to talk about this part. So now if you remember the Smurfs lore, Smurfette was created by Gargamel from a lump of clay, and she was evil. She was sent to Smurf Village to destroy the Smurfs and like get the location of Smurf Village to Gargamel so he could capture them. But then the goodness of the Smurfs changed her and made her good. It also made her Aryan, but that's a topic for another day. Yeah, and she struggled after she turned good. She kind of struggled with her identity of, oh, am I really a Smurf? Am I good? Am I bad? And all that junk. But here in this movie, during the scene, it's revealed that when Smurfette was still evil, so when she was like a little girl and she was still evil, she actually spent a bit of time in the human realm with him in France. And Smurfette is distraught by this information because I would be too if I had to live in France. But that's not really the problem I have there. Uh, the problem I have is that Smurfette is so disturbed by this. Obviously, it's not really the French part that's just a joke, but like Razmo literally pulls out a scrapbook and shows her like baby pictures of her and him, like France, like hanging around at like the Eiffel Tower and shit. And she's like burdened by this information. She's like, holy shit! When I was evil, I hung out with this evil guy. And Razumel is going like, oh, you'll never escape your true nature. You've always been evil. Look, you led the last magic book directly to me, even though it's very obvious that she didn't. But then she's stupid and questioning like, what if I am evil? Did I really lead the magic book to him? Is he gonna take over the universe because of my decisions? It's like you didn't know. You didn't know Jonty Grimoire was in his hat. It's not your fault. And it's really annoying because, again, like I said before, it's like the writers remembered, oh, Rihanna's Smurfette. Rihanna's Smurfette. And she's like the main attraction of this movie. Shit, we haven't done anything with her. We should just throw in a stupid plot point about her and like try to give her emotional depth, even though it's so shallow. It's like, why is she upset about this? Like they just had her be upset about something so it looked like she had an actual story, like character in the movie. And it's still just a rehash of the last movie where she again struggles with her identity. She's like, "Am I evil? Am I not?" At the end of that movie, and it's weird. But anyways, let's go on with the story. I went on a bit of a timer there. Uh, So here, Razmel finally has his last magic book, and he's gonna take it to the other evil wizards. I haven't talked about them because they don't matter. They have names, not names that are mentioned in this movie, but names in their posters. Like literally, their names are not mentioned in this movie. I maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I need to go rewatch it. Their names are. I don't remember their names being mentioned once at all, and I don't remember their names. Uh, so Razamel is like, ah, Gargamel, you stink. I've never actually liked you, and I never planned on ruling with you. And then he runs off to go meet the other evil wizards and assemble all four magic books. And, long story short, they managed to break out of Razimel's castle and recuperate. Gargamel actually helps them break out. And he does so by turning. So, if you don't know the Smurfs, Gargamel has a cat. I haven't mentioned his cat this entire time, Azrael. He also usually has a bird named Monty, but Monty doesn't show up in this movie, weirdly enough. So, it's just Azrael. And his cat, Azrael, Gargamel uses magic and he turns his cat into like a griffin thing, but for some reason during the scene, Azrael can talk. Like when he's transformed, he can talk. I don't know why they thought it'd be a good idea to give him a voice. And his voice is really stupid. I'm not gonna play it or anything because I'm not editing this video, but his trust me, his voice is really stupid. It's really fucking dumb. But yeah. So they finally escape from Razmal's castle. Razmal at this point is on his way to go assemble the four magic books. And Papa Smurf finally explains the backstory from 100 years ago with the magic books and the three guardians. So basically, there were three of them: Papa Smurf, Ken, and Ron. And here we finally get a flashback of that day, and we finally see Ron, and we get to learn about Ron. And I'm a huge fan of Ron. I really like Ron. Like I think he has one of the best designs we've seen in like modern Smurf media. I think Ron is solid idea for a character, and this movie does nothing with him. Like nothing. He has like 2 minutes of screen time. Like he shows up in this flashback and it oh my god. It's such wasted potential. So basically Ron is kind of like a warrior Smurf. Like he's got a shield. He kind of reminds me of Thor, or like a Viking. And I thought that idea was really interesting because most Smurfs we see have like more passive roles. Like, they're more like reactionary or stuff. Like gardening Smurf or like fisherman Smurf, baker Smurf, those kind of things. They all have roles in society. So I thought the idea of like a Smurf whose role is to like fight and like be a guardian and like get physical with stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. And like Ron kind of fit the bill for that, but again, we don't get to see him. It's annoying. Uh, so yeah, basically in this flashback, there was a big showdown against Razamel. The three of them were up against him, and Ron gets sucked into this other world. This gets sucked into another world. Like Razamel opens up a bunch of portals, and one of them, the ground sucks up Ron, and so now he's gone, and that's basically all you need to know. And the reason Papa Smurf abandoned his duties because he was scared of losing another person. That's why he abandoned his duty and started Smurf Village. I don't really think because he didn't want to lose anyone again. I don't know, that's weird. And the flashback is kind of pointless because it doesn't really change anything at all. Pretty much all it does is show us what Ron looks like and tell us that he's dead or like gone, which we already knew. We already knew he was gone. And Papa Smurf's takeaway from the experience being to abandon his duty as a guardian and go start up a village because he's scared of losing people is kind of dumb. It doesn't really fit the bill for Papa Smurf's character. But whatever. Gargamel wants revenge on Razamel for betraying him, so he teams up with the Smurfs to take him down. And so, quick roll call because now our Team Smurf has expanded quite a bit. So, we've got No Name, Smurfette, Papa Smurf, Ken, Vanity Smurf, Hefty, Brandy Smurf, Grouchy Smurf, Mama Poot, and her two unnamed Poots, and Gargamel. Well, 13 is a magic number, I guess. That's. They've always said if you want to write a team, have 13 characters on the team. Give you lots of great dynamics. Razumel now has his magic book and he goes off to again meet the alliance of evil wizards so they can finally conquer the world. We still don't know what conquering the world looks like. What exactly are they gonna do? Are they gonna like make everyone tap dance all day? Maybe they're gonna turn everyone into elephants. Maybe they're gonna make people eat each other's butts all day. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know what these guys are planning on doing. But anyways, they meet up at this boardroom in a floating void somewhere. Like, again, that's also not even explained where they meet up. It just is magical mumbo jumbo. Nothing in this movie is explained. They meet up in this magical boardroom, and Razumel immediately betrays them. Like as soon as he walks in, they like crack a joke about him, and he just uses his magic book and zaps them, and like shoves them in a water cooler and takes their four books. So now Razumel has all four books to himself. And I'm thinking, what exactly do the magic books do? If it's that easy to like just betray the others, why haven't any of them done that? Like I'm presuming that all of them are really evil and just as evil as Razumel. Why have none of them just like betrayed each other? Why are they even working together in the first place and not just like fighting each other for their books? Again, not explained. So yeah, Razumel has all four books and he's essentially God. Like he can just do whatever. But Team Smurf is here and they're ready for the takedown. Is what I would say if all of them aren't immediately one shot as soon as they arrive. Like seriously, they get there and Razumel just kind of goes, and they all get one shot. Like they all get one shot except Papa, No Name, and Smurfette because of course they're the only characters in this movie. No Name and Smurfette, so they're the only ones who are left out. And oh wait, never mind. Only No Name and Smurfette because Papa also immediately gets one shot. Nobody else is allowed to be in the spotlight besides these two, and it gets very annoying. Uh, I probably already said this before, but this scene that pops up here is my least favorite in the movie. I really hate it. It's so dumb. Basically, Nona and Smurfette are the only ones left with Razumel, and Smurfette like walks up to Razumel and she's like, "Oh, I finally achieved my duty, my goal to like infiltrate the Smurfs and take over. I've always been evil this whole time. I was just pretending." And Razumel believes her. Why? And the reason why it takes so much, like, it's dumb in itself, but the reason why it takes so much offense to this scene is because it's literally just a ripoff of the Lost Village. There's a scene like this that happens, like, during the final confrontation where Smurfette pretends that she's evil and goes up to Gargamel, and she uses that to, like, get an advantage against him because she tricks him. Except in that movie, it makes sense because we know that Gargamel is like a lonely dude, and Smurfette is kind of like his daughter, so it makes sense for him to go, "Oh yeah, come to Papa. I'll take you in now that you're evil." In this movie, it doesn't really make sense for Razmel to even like believe Smurfette because as far as we know, Razmel's goal is to rule on his own. Even if he was like, "Okay, sure, I'll humor you. You're evil now." He would probably still just kill her, or like zap her, because again, he wants to rule on his own. He doesn't really need her. But anyways, whatever. She uses it to get the upper hand. She kicks the book out of his hand. Blah blah blah. They get the book, but it's not over because stuff is gonna happen. Uh, Hold on, give me a second. I lost where I was. Uh, yeah. So they get the book and they proceed to jump into the interdimensional abyss. It's like a white door that they jump through, and there's like a void there, and they jump through. And before they jump through with the book, Jaunty Grimoire, she's like, "No, don't jump into the interdimensional void. Anybody who goes in there never comes out the same." And they proceed to jump in, and they come back exactly the same. Nothing changes about them at all. Razumel even goes in with them, like after them, and nothing changes about him either. So it's just artificial stakes. It's just a character saying, "No, that's dangerous," and then the thing is not dangerous actually. But yeah, Smurfette manages. Uh, Sorry. Yeah, they go into the place, and because this is a movie about multiverses and it's a lazy reboot of an old IP, We have to get some multiverse shenanigans in there, and we're given a montage. There's always going to be a fucking montage in these multiverse movies. We're given a montage of No Name Smurfette and Rasmo going through different dimensions. The first one is actually pretty impressive. It's like a claymation animation, like claymation dimension, where they used clay to animate the characters there, and it was like, okay, yeah, they put a bit of effort into that. It was pretty cool. The next one they go into is a paper world, which was okay. It was kind of lackluster, but whatever. The next one is an 8-bit universe. We know that because one of the characters, I don't remember if it was Razmel or No Name, says 8-bit. They specifically refer to it as 8-bit. So it's supposed to be like a retro video game kind of thing. But the visuals in this dimension are not 8-bit, like at all. It's not even pixel art, which was what blew my mind. If you look at it for even more than 5 seconds, you realize this isn't pixel art. It's like mixels. You know how Scott Cawthon made like the pixel sprites for the Atari games and like FNAF? That's what it is. It's not pixel art. It's just like blocks put together very lazily, which was it was crazy to see because this movie was like this is like a big budget movie. How could you not get anyone to do pixel art? It's so weird. Uh, the next dimension they go to is an anime one. They have an anime thing, and in the original draft of this video, I was gonna play like a clip of it, but because I'm not editing this video, I'm not gonna do that. But if you can go find this clip somewhere, the clip of this anime sequence, go find it and go watch it. It is terrible. You would expect from like a movie with such a huge budget, maybe they could get some decent 2D animation in there. It's not. This shit is barely even tweened. Oh, it's so bad. It's like a Dragon Ball parody. It's weird. They're fighting. They're like it's like really bold. It's anime. It's really stupid. This movie got a $58 million budget, by the way. I don't know where all that money went. What am I saying? It was Rihanna. Rihanna took all that shit. W finesse though. Uh, like the movie was already shit, but they could have at least like popped out with like some tough ass Takuga. Maybe it would have given people some shit to edit on TikTok, so people would be like, "Ooh, the Smurfs is tough. Is the Smurfs actually kind of good?" Maybe they could have at least done that, but they didn't. They didn't. They didn't even try with the stupid 2D animation. The next dimension they go to is another one that pisses me off. They go to the tardigrade dimension. If you don't know what a tardigrade is, it's like this bug thing. It's like a very tiny microscopic insect thing. And the tardigrade like says like two lines. The tardigrade is on screen for like 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Maybe 5 seconds is even pushing it. The tardigrade is on screen in this movie for like 5 seconds. And he has a poster. Again, I don't know what the criteria for the characters. I feel like this movie just lacks in characters completely. So they just kind of shoved anyone on the promotional posters. Like, because I remember like months before it came out, people were ragging on them, and it because it was like a weird random cast of characters. So people were like, "Who are these characters?" And it was like introducing Turtle, introducing Tardigrade, and Tardigrade isn't even a character in the movie. He's there for like 5 seconds. I don't know, really dumb, really weird decision to just try and like artificially inflate the cast without doing any actual work, just by saying, "Hey, look, these are characters," but then they're not characters. It's really stupid. Uh, also, yeah, so blah blah blah. They're done with the dimension hopping. They get out of the interdimensional abyss, and again, they're all fine. Nothing happened to them. No actual stakes. But blah blah blah. No Name has an epiphany, and he realizes it's like an anime scene where the main character's like on their last life, and they finally awaken their power, and he realizes he does have magic. He actually does have magic. And the one thing I was okay with about the Jonty Grimoire plot twist, where it was like he didn't have actual magic, was that it explained the plot hole of why he was so powerful. Because I initially complained about No Name just being able to do whatever with his magic, but it makes a lot of sense when you realize, okay, he wasn't actually the one doing the magic. It was just all the magic book's power. But when he actually unlocks his magic for real at the end of the movie, he still is just God. In fact, if anything, he's more powerful than he already was before. He now just kind of has Toon Force. He's like moving like Luffy when he awakened Gear 5. That like I'm not even joking in that scene. He's just dog walking and smacking his shit all over Razumel in that scene. And he just wins the fight. And yeah, it's weird. Like he can do anything. He's dog walking this guy. He can open up portals. He has Black Whip from fucking My Hero Academia. He can seemingly transform anything into anything. So he just opens up a portal and then banishes Razmo to some random dimension. Also, Turtle's back. You remember Turtle? He's here for some reason. He's here in this void with them. I don't really know how he got there. But I don't care. There's like 10 minutes left in the movie, so whatever. Yeah, also sound effect Smurf is here too now. I don't know how he got there, like at all. I think Turtle came out of one of the portals, but sound effect Smurf he's just there. And yeah, it's whatever. Also, Ron's back. Ron's back. Ron's back. Oh yeah, Ron's back. Ron's back. Remember Ron? He's the Guardian Smurf guy from the flashback who got stuck in the other dimension. He just makes a reappearance after like 106 years of being missing. The goat has returned. Unfortunately, there's only like 5 minutes left of the movie, so he only has like two lines. Again, I can't stress enough how he's like the best character in the movie and he gets nothing. They just don't do anything with him. It's so annoying. But whatever. Anyways, they all go back to Smart Village and we get another final dance number with a DJ Khaled song. And I didn't know DJ Khaled was in this, so hearing his voice kind of made me laugh. That got a chuckle out of me. And movie ends. Finally, thank you for being with me with that long ass summary. I know that took a while. That probably took a very long while. I didn't even take a bite out of my sandwich. My tea is not even halfway done either, but that probably took a while. We're at an hour's wait already, but yeah, we'll keep going. So basically, that's the summary part. Now you know what happens in the movie. Hopefully, I had enough commentaries mixed in there with the summary to make it not just boring and just listening to somebody recap a movie. But whatever. Now we're gonna go more into the in detail part. I'm not sure how much longer this part will take. Probably longer than I think it will, because first I have a section of things I liked. So let's get into things I liked. First, uh, a lot of time I've kind of seen people shitting on this movie, like most of the videos online. I try to avoid watching a lot of reviews of this movie before doing mine because I wanted to like keep my opinion of the movie pure. And yeah, so let me talk about some things I like. Like I said earlier, the Smurfs in this movie are portrayed as gender neutral, which doesn't affect the story. It's not a big deal, but I thought it was a pretty interesting take on the Smurfs. Uh, I mean, it definitely added some more variety to like characters of Smurf Village. Characters is a very loose word. I guess the voices, like made Smurf Village seem like a more varied place. But yeah, because like things can get a bit stale with Smurf Village, but give a little bit of kick to it. But whatever. Another thing I liked Ron. I really liked Ron with his 3 seconds of screen time, and I really wish they did more with him. In fact, I fully believe that this movie should have been about Papa Smurf, Ron, Ken, and Mama Poot. I think just those four. Remember how I said the Smurfs Lost Village had only four characters in its main team Smurf? I think this movie should have taken a page out of its book and just had those four characters be the main ones: Ken, Papa Smurf, Ron, and Mama Poot. I think this movie should have been about like those relationships and like repairing those bonds that hit kind of let go because these are like four characters who split up before and then they're coming back together and we don't really see much of their dynamic, which is annoying. uh and like yeah, I think it should have just been them. It should have just been them going on their own journey from like point A to point B. I don't think we needed Smurfette. I don't think we needed No Name. I don't think we needed any of the other guys on Team Smurf. It should have just been those four going on the quest to defeat Razamel again. That would have been cool. But yeah, whatever. And I also realized that I don't know if Papa and Mama Poot know each other. They never acknowledge each other's existence, like in a movie. I don't think they even have an exchange of dialogue at all. It's weird. I don't know. Yeah. Smurfs: The Lost Village was a very good movie because it actually focused on the main cast and right because they were only four, so it could focus on them because again, four characters is very manageable. You can like that's a good enough number where there's enough characters to have a diverse cast, but there's enough to like have everybody have their own thing and get their own focus. And this movie has way too many characters, way too many moving parts to even do that at all. Except for two characters, and that brings me to my next point: No Name and Smurfette. No Name and Smurfette are the only characters in this movie. Again, I can't stress that enough. Everyone else in this movie is just set dressing to give it the illusion of a cast. First, let's talk about No Name. No Name is a ripoff of Smurfette from The Lost Village. Both characters are different from the rest of the Smurfs. They're both introduced with having a strong desire to find their own thing. In fact, The Lost Village begins with a short montage of like Smurfette trying out different things and failing at them. And this movie has something like that too, where No Name tries out clog making and then it fails. And they're like, oh, I guess that's crossing off the list of things that you tried and you failed at. So it's just a rehash of that same thing. Uh yeah, like seriously, this movie does not take care or time with anything. Like even with the montage comparison, they couldn't even do a montage here. They just did one thing and they were like, "Hey, look at a list of all the other stuff we've done." They couldn't even like show us, which is annoying. This movie does a lot of telling instead of showing. It also doesn't help that No Name kind of has no personality. Like seriously, I can't tell you anything about this guy. I get he's not supposed to have his thing, but like I said before, the writers use that as an excuse to just not write him a personality. He doesn't do anything. He just kind of whines and he's very pussy about everything. I don't know. Uh like even if you're gonna do a character who doesn't have a thing, you can still give them personality. Like Smurfette in the Lost Village, she doesn't have her own specific thing that you can point to and say, "Oh, that's her thing," but she still has the most personality Smurfette has ever had. You know, she has agency in the plot. You know, she's curious. You know, she takes the leading role of Team Smurf in that movie. Like she again, she has agency in the plot. She actually moves the story forward. No Name just kind of goes along with what everyone tells him to do, and except for like when he pushes out and runs away, and even then Smurfette just comes to him and is like, "Hey, go back," and he's like, "Okay, sure, I'll go back." You know, it's weird. Smurfette isn't all that much better in this movie. First of all, let me finally talk about Rihanna Smurfette. I've made a few jokes about it so far, but let me actually talk about it. Uh, if you kept up with the promotion of this movie, you probably heard that a lot. Rihanna is Smurfette. It was like everywhere, even on the poster. Might as well be like the tagline of this movie. Uh, and when I initially heard that Rihanna was gonna be Smurfette, I was like, "What? That sounds weird." And then I heard it in the trailer, and again, I was like, "What? That sounds weird." Personally, I think Smurfette's voice in The Lost Village is the perfect Smurfette. I think that's the best one. Has a little bit of edge to it while still being soft. I think that's the perfect Smurfette voice. Rihanna is just not a very good voice actor. She's kind of phoned it in. Like she talks like she just woke up and she's like tired. Like Smurfette in this movie, like all her words draw out. Like there's some lines that are okay, and it's like okay, cool. Just a different interpretation of Smurfette, and they work. Then there's other lines where it's just that's just bad voice acting. Uh, but yeah, it wasn't good by any means. I think her like voice acting in this movie. If I had to rate it, I'd say 4 out of 10. I don't know, maybe 3 out of 10. I didn't really like her voice acting. But you know, it also wasn't like a huge problem while watching the movie. Like I was able to just ignore it and forget it. Like I wouldn't say it made the watching experience worse, but like if you look at her voice in its own isolated, it's like unbearable to listen to. Uh, and I should have known Smurfette would play such a big role in this movie. I mean, she's Rihanna. At the start of the movie, kind of makes it seem like she's already had her character arc, but again, like at the end, it's like they realize, oh, we gotta do something with Rihanna, so they just regress her character and have her be upset and like scarred from finding out that she was actually with Rasmo. And that doesn't actually even get much of a resolution now that I think about it. She's just kind of, oh no, I was in France with Rasmo. And they just kind of go on with that. Doesn't really actually get resolved. Uh, I still don't even know why she was so angry about that. Like in verse, it's weird. Uh, yeah. On to my next point. Pacing. This movie is so fucking fast. Like, like again, like I said, they don't leave any time for showing or like building up anything. Everything is just told to you so they can jump over to the next plot point extremely fast. Uh, like they're skipping over anything that could be potentially interesting to see with our own eyes, like to actually see. Like we don't even get to see Razamel like attack the Snooter Poots hideout and kidnap everyone. We just get there and Mama Poot's like, "Oh, Razamo came." And it's like, why don't we see that? I don't know. Like that seems like it would have been a cool action piece. We don't get to see that. It's annoying. Uh, Again, with the message and the mystery of Find Ken, we don't get to see the Smurfs do anything. Like they have no agency in this mystery of finding Ken. We just have Clumsy come out of nowhere and be like, "Hey guys, your answer's right here." And then they go to France and Muxie's like, "Oh, I know Ken. He's just over there. Just go over and meet him." We don't get to actually see them do anything. Uh, No Name cries about not having magic and immediately gets magic. Like everything is just immediately resolved. And for a movie that tries to be a grand adventure, the adventure is really not that grand at all. And that's likely because the events of this film take place over the course of like 24 hours, and it really doesn't help space things out at all. Compared to The Lost Village, which takes place like over the course of maybe a few weeks. I'm not really sure how long their journey in that movie is, but like it takes them a few days at most to actually get there, and it really adds to the sense of, oh, they're going a long distance. They're going from point A to point B. This is a journey. It's not just characters being thrown around and tossed around in a barrel for like a day and then they get thrown out back to where they started. But yeah, let's talk about the elephant in the room. And this was probably the part I hated most about the movie, and that is Team Smurf. Team Smurf again is the team of main Smurfs, and Team Smurf in this movie is a fucking mess. It's so all over the place. Like I said earlier, when I'm referring to Team Smurf, I mean the main Smurf characters. In this movie, at the start, there was like eight of them. And then towards the end, there was like 13 of them because the team got so big. Gargamel was on the fucking team. Uh, and for this, I'm going to bring up the Lost Village again and talk a bit about Team Smurf there. And I know I'm really glazing the shit out of this movie, like, but I think it's a very solid movie. At least, like, for Smurfs, it's probably like a meh kind of movie for people who don't care about the Smurfs. But for a Smurf movie, as a Smurf fan, that shit's up there. It's up there. Uh, yeah. One problem that Team Smurf usually has is that it's just too big. They try to fit in like six or seven characters into the team, and as a result, we don't get to know any of them because that's just too many characters to flesh out in such a short amount of time. And The Lost Village, it gives us the perfect number, four. I think four is the perfect number for Team Smurf. And that Team Smurf consists of Smurfette, Brady, Hefty, and Clumsy. And I think that was a very solid Team Smurf. And that's all you need, and they did it justice with those characters. It also helps that, like, one thing I really like about that movie is that, like, 80 or like 90% of the screen time is spent with just those characters. In this new movie, there's a lot of jumping back and forth between Razumel's castle and Team Smurf. I mainly ignored it for the sake of this review because I wasn't going to be talking about Razumel and Gargamel's scenes. They're just boring and drone on. Nothing happens there. But it has a lot of bouncing back and forth between those. But The Lost Village, like pretty much every scene is just Team Smurf. It's just these four characters. And as a result, we get to really know them and like see how they relate to one another. Because like at the start, like from start to finish, like there's a certain point in the movie where there's like no cuts at all. It's just Team Smurf. It's just going with them. And I thought that was really cool. I really like stories where it's characters going from point A to point B and the journey is just the focus. Uh yeah. Uh Compare that to this movie, where, again, lots of jumping around, and at the end there's like 13 of them. And you can't tell whose dynamic is with anyone. Papa and Ken have a bit of tension, same as Ken and Mama Poop, but neither of those are given enough time. And again, if everyone else wasn't there and it was just those four, we could get to see those because you'd have to give us something, and we could see that. But again, there's just too many characters in this new movie to like get to know. And don't get me started on the rest of Team Smurf. The other Smurfs in Team Smurf, Hefty, Vanity, Grouchy, Worry, and Brainy. These guys don't do anything in this movie. Notice how I don't think I even mentioned any of their names during the entire summary again after that initial introduction because they don't do anything in this movie, like at all. They're just there. They make a few jokes. They don't do anything. It's so pointless. Uh, Hefty and Brainy are a part of this new team in this new movie. They were also in the other Team Smurf, the good one, in the Lost Village. And in that movie, they're chock full of personality. They have so much. They have so much going on with each other too. Because again, there's four of them, so we actually get to see that. But in this new movie, you just assume, they're just nobodies. They just don't do anything in this. Uh, yeah, in the Lost Village, they have a lot of tension with one another, because like they're with Hefty making fun of Brainy and Brainy, getting mad at him because, he's tired of putting up with that. And like as the movie goes on, their emotions progressively build up and they get more and more angry at each other to the point that they almost get into a fight with each other. And then eventually later on we see a scene of them resolving that tension between the two of them and we get to see them. You know, uh, their team is solid. I can like draw a chart between all the four of them in that team Smurf, and I can tell you what each character in that team's relationship with one another is, like what their dynamic is, because there's only four of them, and the movie gives us enough time to focus on that four of them. But this new movie just does not do that. Sorry, I'm talking a bit fast. Uh, Yeah, again, like I said, like if I had to rewrite this movie, I would have made it four characters in Team Smurf: Papa Smurf, Ken, Ron, and Mama Poot, and I would have had them go on some sort of journey in the Smurf world because again, I think the isekai angle is stupid. I just keep them in Smurf world. That's why The Lost Village is so good because it's a movie about Smurfs. It's not a movie about humans. It's not in the human world. Granted, this movie doesn't have any actual human characters, but still, stop taking fantasy characters out of fantasy worlds. It's just a dumb decision. But yeah. Anyways, I would have had it be about those four: Papa Smurf, Ken, Mama Poot, Ron, and I would have had them on a journey and again do something with the Alliance of Evil Wizards, where it could be like they encounter three of them across their journey. So like three mini bosses that they meet at three different stages in the journey, and then the final boss leads up to Razamel. I think that would have been pretty cool, but they don't do that here. Uh, yeah, I was gonna do a segment on the Alliance of Evil Wizards, but there's nothing to talk about with them. They don't show up in this movie. They don't really play a role. There's just nothing besides their wasted potential and like what could have been done with them, which I just mentioned like 2 seconds ago. There's nothing else to say about them. So let's go into a shorter section. Let's talk about the music of this movie. Again, when this was first announced in like 2021, it was set to be a musical, and it was eventually like it was called Smurfs the Musical, like when it was announced, but then it was eventually changed to the Smurfs movie, but the name didn't really stick, so they just ended up calling it Smurfs. Smurfs 2025, Smurfs 2025, Rihanna Smurfette, if you will. Uh, Even still, they sort of advertised it as a musical. Not really, but like this movie's technically a musical, and it's a musical in the sense that it has a soundtrack. Like I kept waiting for musical numbers to play. They didn't, but then like you go to Spotify and there's like the Smurfs musical, but it's just songs from the soundtrack of the movie, like songs that play in the background. A movie having a soundtrack doesn't make it a musical. That's just a movie with a soundtrack. Yeah, so yeah, Rihanna makes like one or two songs for this movie too. I think it was more than that, but she makes some of the music, which I guess makes sense. Uh, yeah. Here's the problem I had with Rondo. Like, so Ron in the movie is like, well, I when before I watched the movie, I didn't look at all the character posters because they put out a bunch and I just didn't want to look at them. And Ron in the movie, for like the most part of the movie, he's blacked out like in the flashbacks. So like we don't see what he looks like, and it's like a mystery of, oh, who's that character? What does Ron look like? But in the promotional material, he's shown there. He's on there. He's like literally just on the poster. So like if you looked at the posters, you would have seen a poster with Ron's face and design on there with his name on there, and you would have just known what he looked like. They spoiled their own reveal in their promotional material. It's really stupid. Again, I think they just put him on there because they needed more characters to like inflate the cast of this movie in the public eye, which is why they just threw him on there. Uh, yeah, thankfully I didn't see it because that would have just ruined the review for me. And Ron again was the best part of the movie for me. Like when it was revealed, I was like, "Oh, this is a pretty hype character." So yeah, I'm glad I didn't see that, but that's kind of a fail on their part. Again, the character promotional material is also just weird. Like they put anybody on there. Tardigrade is on there, the character that's on screen for like 5 seconds. Turtle's on there, even though he doesn't play any a role in the movie. He's not even a character. It's so strange. Like again, I feel like this movie wanted to be like a grand adventure, and it wanted to be like, oh, we've got a grand cast and a huge cast, and the gang's all here, but they just didn't actually try. But yeah, visuals. Let's talk about visuals. That's a big one. The sculptures of this movie raises a bit of concern. Well, like it raised a bit of concern when I first saw the trailer for me, and I saw a lot of people like immediately hating it and saying, "Oh, this looks terrible." I was like, looks okay. Like I think it's a huge downgrade from the Lost Village, but it was like looks all right. It kind of just seems like a lazy like like a lazy attempt to profit off of the hype of like Spider-Verse, and that 2.5D sort of style is all the rage now, so it seems like that's what they were going for, but they didn't really try all that much. Like a lot of the characters in this movie kind of look like really shitty old video game models, like crack house video game models. That's what they look like. The only praise I have for this movie's visuals is the backgrounds, specifically backgrounds in Razumo's castle. They actually look pretty dope. Like they look magnificent. I feel like if they were the background in like a video game or like any other movie, they would look amazing. Like if the characters were as good as the background, it would have been pretty good. I think the backgrounds in Rasmus castles are really nice. They're very well textured. They have a really cool atmosphere to them, but the rest of the movie just doesn't look like that. There are a few good shots in there. Like there were sometimes I paused the movie and I was like, "Oh, that looks pretty clean. That's kind of a cinematic shot." But besides that, overall visuals are like a 7.5 out of 10, maybe even a 7 on a bad day. Uh, Also, another gripe I had, it's not a big deal, but I just something I noticed and I couldn't stop noticing once I saw it. For some reason, the Smurfs in this movie have human hands, which is hard to explain to somebody who's not really familiar with the Smurfs design. But if you look at their fingers in like the Lost Village and like old Smurf comics, specifically look at it in the Lost Village because that's also a 3D movie. If you look at their fingers there, it's very different from their fingers in this new movie. And I at first it looked weird and I couldn't point my finger on it, but that's because these new guys have knuckles. They have like joints in their fingers. Their hands are really clearly modeled after human hands, which is weird because the Smurfs' hands are supposed to be kind of like boneless and like it'd be like giving like a what's a character like Mickey Mouse like well defined joints when he closes his hand as opposed to it just being a ball. Like they have planes. It's really weird. It's not a big deal, but I noticed it, and once I did, I couldn't stop noticing it. Uh, yeah. The Smurfs in this movie are also very like unexpressive. They have very low ranges of expressions, unlike in like the Lost Village or even like the old comics where like Smurfs could like make really bold faces. They could like, do a bunch with their face. In this movie, they're kind of just lifeless. They talk lifelessly. Their mouth is kind of flaps around. They don't really move around much. Uh, yeah, and that's pretty much all I had to say about the visuals. Whatever. Moving on. Let's talk about the humans. Uh, why is this movie set in the human realm? I don't know. Again, I feel like they wanted to do a sort of world tour thing where Smurfs go to different locations and it's like, oh, Smurfs in real life in like France, Smurfs in real life in Australia, Smurfs in real life in Germany. I feel like that's what they wanted to do, and that's the only reason it's set in the human world. But besides that, nothing, nothing happens here. It's not even like the first two live action movies where there were human characters and it was like a Smurf meets human kind of thing. There are no human characters in this movie, which I think is a smart decision. Like I feel like if there was a human character in this movie, it would be like it would go all the way even more down. The movie's already bad, but I feel like that would have made it worse. For the most part, they try to cleverly avoid like showing human faces even at all. Like a lot of times, human faces will be cropped off the screen or like down below, which I thought was an like obviously Smurfs in the human world is not a good idea, but like if you're gonna put them there, I feel like that was an appropriate choice. Like they did something all right, and they're not fucking up on everything, I guess. Uh, uh, Yeah, and it brings me like again. I'm still very confused about the decision because like I understand why the 2011 and 13 movie did it. It was because there's a craze of mixing CGI with like humans because the Alvin and the Chipmunks movie came out and lots of people were going crazy over that. So I was like, let's do that too. But here it's like, dude, it's 2025. Nobody cares about that anymore. Like maybe they were looking at Sonic the Hedgehog for inspiration. I don't know. Even then, again, they're not human characters in this movie, so I don't really get it. I think it's just a poor decision in general, an adaptation for like an adaptation of like the Smurfs. I think generally taking fictional characters, fictional like fantasy characters out of their fantasy world and putting them in our world is just a bad decision. And I don't understand why anybody would want to do that. Like it's so dumb. The reason I love the Lost Village so much is because, again, the Smurfs stay in the Smurf world and their journeys in the Smurf world, and we get to see the magic of their world. They leave and go to France, and what magic is there in France? Like, I don't get it. What fantasy is there? It's just weird. It's taking these fictional characters out of their natural habitat to just put them in our world. That's just boring. I'm not watching a movie to see France. I'm watching a movie to see Smurfs do Smurf things in Smurf world. So dumb. Uh, yeah, whatever. That's enough yapping. Let's finish this off. Those are pretty much all my points. Conclusion. In conclusion, this movie is a shame. It's one big shame in total. That's just what I can sum it up as. It's a shame. Uh, they didn't follow up on the story that the Lost Village laid out, which again is the biggest shame. I really liked that movie. I was really hoping for a sequel someday. Uh, And it's a shame that it turned out so bad, this new movie. Because, again, I feel like a lot of people, especially reviewers on this platform, were very eager and quick to dismiss the movie as, like, oh, just a lazy kids movie, terrible. And I really held out hope to the last second that maybe it would be good, even after seeing the reviews. I was like, maybe even if it's bad, I'll enjoy it. Maybe there'll be something there for me to enjoy. And no, nope, it was not. It wasn't, it still was not very good. Uh, and it's a shame because this could very likely be the last Smurf movie we ever get. Like maybe in like 7 years they'll try again and do another reboot, but I don't think we're getting a sequel to this movie specifically anytime soon, at least. Because they did turn a profit at the box office, but this movie in general was like negatively received. So maybe I don't know. Then again, studios don't really listen to anything that like fans say or like any like input from their viewers. So maybe they'll be stupid and they'll make another one and I'll get more Smurf content, but it probably won't be good. Uh, yeah. I think a lot of people in the Smurfs creative team, are like whoever is in charge of the IP just doesn't care for the Smurfs, and like a lot of people in charge don't really give a shit about the IP. Like as like a tool for storytelling. It's more like oh Smurfs, they're these mascots, Oh, people love the Smurfs. Let's do this with them. Let's do this stupid thing with them. I feel like a lot of people don't really view it as like these are characters with like storytelling potential. Maybe I'm just weird. Maybe I'm just kind of stupid in the head where I'm like there's a lot you could do with these characters. Like the Lost Village shows us that. There's a lot of world building you can do with them. There's a lot of lore you can do with them. You can give them relationships with one another. I don't know. I feel like there's so much that you could do with these guys, and not much is done with them, which is a shame. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. If you watched this far into the video, thank you for sticking around and just listening to me go on about this. know a lot of people don't care about the Smurfs. Like there's a lot of people going, "Who cares about the Smurfs? Who asked for a Smurf movie? Who's this movie for? This movie is for me." But yeah, I think there's just a lot of untapped potential with these guys, and The Lost Village was really the only Smurfs movie to like kind of dig into that, and they could really push that more, but they just didn't try here. Uh, and to get a better Smurfs 2025, you'd kind of have to rewrite the entire story, which is just a shame. And sorry, this video ended up being just a Lost Village Glaze Fest. I didn't talk too much about the first two live action movies because I just think they're not really worth talking about. Like, I don't even think they're worth considering Smurf movies, honestly. But yeah, uh, like I said earlier, like at the start of the video, initially I was gonna make this like a well edited like video essay, like really high quality put together thing, but uh along the way I realized I'm just not really into that style of video. Like even watching those type of videos I don't really enjoy. The type of YouTube videos and reviews I really enjoy are like just videos of people talking. So I was like, make what you love kind of deal. Like James Toulos, I listen to his videos whenever I'm drawing. Sometimes he has editing in there, but his older videos are usually just him talking about YA young adult. That's what young adult means. YA romance novels in his bedroom, and I like that. Those are the type of videos I like to watch. So those will be the type of videos I like to make. Uh, yeah, I want to upload more on my YouTube channel, a lot more. But yeah, uh, I was thinking of starting another like a video series where I do reviews of harem animes. Like I just go watch a random harem anime, some stupid shit from the 2000s, and then I watch the first 5 episodes, and then I do a short review of like the first 5 episodes because I'm not sitting through a lot of that shit. I'm not doing that. Like I like the genre and like the storytelling potential of the genre. Like I think it's really cool setup and it can be used to tell great stories, but be honest, most of it is dog shit. So I don't think I would want to torment myself with that. But yeah, first 5 episodes of a harem anime and then review. Maybe if I have time to do that. Yeah, but I just thought that would be fun. Anyways, again, if you've watched this far into the video, thanks for sticking around. I might do a Shadow Slave review lately, but yeah, I could finally sign out and eat my bread. I didn't take a single bite out of it during the entire recording of that, but anyways, have a good day. Diggo out.